It's a holiday episode of Next Best Bet, episode 103 on Christmas Eve. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy. As always, we have some college football bowl games, college basketball, NFL, NBA. Brett, our rundowns are looking a lot more packed now, but you still have the knack of having some pending games as we record.
Well, that's the dream, Higgins, is to have them all pending and then come into the episode 0-0 or undefeated, as I like to say. No, I have a lot pending, but I have a lot of results too. What did I go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1. That's pretty good with 2 still out there. So no complaints on this on episode 102. Let's see if it can carry over into 103.
Yes, you did a little better than I did. However, I did take a page out of your book, and I have my Hawks game pending as we record this right now, although they're sitting pretty good in the fourth quarter, up by more than 20 points. I went 2-5 right now. However, if you look at that BYU over-under, and if you listen to the Next Best Bet, Brett and I have told you that we like to wait on these picks because of COVID to place them day of. If you did this, you would have noticed that that over-under in the BYU UCF game went from 71.5 to 78.5. Now, I had the under, meaning I naturally stayed with the under for it going up to 78.5. 72 total points were scored in that game, so I was very, very fortunate and blessed that Zach Wilson and BYU decided to take a knee at the end of that game on first and goal instead of going for it because the bookmakers were sharp. That line was right there.
They knew something, and then someone moved it all the way up, and Higgins cashed out. So that was nice there, Higgins.
Absolutely. Let's talk about our Beginners Boulevard because we have a few of these close games, especially, Christmas Day basketball. You'll have some very close matchups as the NBA tries to put up some of their best teams against each other. So you might see a few pick'ems, like our Beginners Boulevard term, which means an instance where neither team is favored. It's literally the money line and the spread are exactly the same. You just pick someone.
Yeah, and sometimes in the spread you'll see a 0.5, but that doesn't really mean anything. Everyone knows you can't win by half a point, Higgins.
You're right, you can't, and so that way you might see a slight spread favor in that way where you'll see a 0.5 at minus 110 and then the money line will be minus 105 one side and minus 115 the other way, but there are some true pick'ems where you'll see pick'em. It'll literally say pick'em in the spread, and it'll be minus 110, and then the money line will also be minus 110.
Pick 'em. It's just another way you'll see a bet on a board when you go to Vegas, when you log into your app, Higgins. Just know what you're looking at.
And speaking of knowing what you're looking at, we have some college bowl games, which it's important to note that when you're betting college bowl games, they're not like the regular season. They're sometimes at neutral sites. Sometimes there's players that have opted out because they're going to go to the NFL or this year because of COVID or anything like that. So some very important things to factor in. Sometimes coaches leave programs before their bowl games even start. But on Christmas Eve, we have Hawaii versus Houston. I was looking at that game, decided to stay away from the New Mexico Bowl. Christmas Day, we have Marshall versus Buffalo. I was leaning Buffalo on that minus 4.5. However, that catastrophic injury to their running back, who has been a powerhouse for that offense. Not sure how the Buffalo team responds from that injury and that loss to Ball State, so I'm staying away from that game. And really, Brett, Saturday has the best game, and it's a game that we should have had on December 5th between Liberty and Coastal Carolina.
Hey, we got a great game on December 5th, but now we get the Liberty Coastal Carolina matchup that would have been college game day. We get it during bowl season, Higgins. Win-win.
Yes, it's the FBC Mortgage Cure Bowl, and so Coastal Carolina and Liberty were supposed to play each other, but Liberty had COVID protocols that took them out of the game, and that's when there was the 2-day notice that BYU took the call and decided to play Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina still eked out the win in that one, Brett. And based off how we saw BYU just demolish UCF in their bowl game, that makes that win by Coastal Carolina, to me, all that more impressive. And that's why you're going to find me on Coastal Carolina minus 7.5 here. I feel like the team should be should feel disrespected with being ranked number 12 in the nation right now. They should have gotten a New Year's Day game, in my opinion. So they should come out with a little chip on their shoulder. I think 7.5 is a bit of a big spread, but I still think that they should win this rather handedly. They went 11-0 up until that BYU game. They had covered every single spread in this game in this year. They're 8-2 and 1 on the spread this year. Liberty in their own rights 8-2 on the spread as well, but I just think Coastal Carolina is the better team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually going to take the other side, Higgins, on this one. So one of us will win, one of us will lose. Great for our record. Um, and, honestly, I just think Liberty is a pretty good football team as well. And I don't know. I see this as I see this as more of a pick'em game, to be quite honest. I know you're a huge Coastal fan. You've loved them all year. But I think Liberty's pretty good, and they have a good quarterback. He transferred in from Auburn. Hugh Freeze is their coach. So Liberty plus 7.5 in this one just feels like a good play for me.
Now, you mentioned Hugh Freeze, and I mentioned the fact that coaches might leave, and Hugh Freeze, his name's been whispered with the Auburn job. Art Briles' names has been whispered about taking his spot at Liberty next year. I don't know how that might distract and pull away from the preparation of this game. Liberty had been ranked in the top 25 earlier this season. They're not right now. Coastal Carolina stayed ranked throughout. I just really think the Chanticleers are the better team here. I'm going to be very excited to watch that Saturday game because, like I said, we should have had that a few weeks ago. Liberty, unfortunately, was not able to play in it and has not been able to play since they were taken out of that game. So, obviously, Liberty should be rearing to go, to your point. I just think Coastal Carolina fresher, played some top-tier opponents like BYU there. It should be a great game.
Yeah, I'm excited for the game. And also, just so everyone's aware, Brian Harsin is going to be the coach at Auburn. Don't know who he is, but that's the name, Brian Harsin.
Okay, so that's very important to point out because I had heard Hugh Freeze's name connected to Auburn, but however, someone else has accepted the job. Obviously, Hugh Freeze cannot now take
he
that
can
job.
lock in on Coastal now, Higgins. He can prep.
Some more coaching news, though, about another game that's going on that Saturday. Number 19, Louisiana Lafayette's playing University of Texas San Antonio UTSA Roadrunners. However, the UTSA coach tested positive for coronavirus on Wednesday, the day that we're recording this, Brett. That game's on Saturday. It'll be interesting to see, as obviously there's going to be players and other coaches that get tested, if that has spread throughout the program and if this bowl game actually does happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to keep our eye on. You mentioned Louisiana Lafayette's the favorite right now. If the game kicks off, I would imagine they'd still be the favorite when the other team doesn't have their coach. So that would seem like a big advantage in that one for Louisiana Lafayette. But I will not be touching that one at all. But I definitely wouldn't recommend anyone touch it till game day because that one could certainly be postponed.
The only reason I would consider touching that game right now is Louisiana Lafayette was minus 13.5 as we were putting this together on our rundown. And with him being taken out, maybe other coaches or players getting taken out, that could even balloon past 2 touchdowns. So if you want to take that while it's still under 2 scores, that's the only reason why I would see it. But honestly, we've preached bankroll management, and like I said, there's college football, college basketball, NFL, NBA. There's a lot of sports that are going on right now with the NBA season starting up again. So you gotta be wise with where you're placing these bets. And if we're going to be giving out picks for the next 3 to 4 days, Brett, I can't see myself putting money on Louisiana Lafayette UTSA right
No,
now.
not when there's 4 straight days of NFL football, Higgins. 4 straight days.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Mwah.
Friday through
Mwah.
Monday, NFL football on the slate.
Yes. We start off with some Christmas magic. The Vikings versus the Saints. Now, this is down in New Orleans, so we aren't going to necessarily get the Minnesota Miracle in Minnesota. I mean, this game could still have all that animosity and history that we have seen in recent years between these two teams. But That should be a very interesting game down in New Orleans as Drew Brees is most likely going to make his second straight start after breaking multiple ribs and being out for a few weeks. I think Drew Brees' game's time decision last week honestly hurt the Saints a little bit. I think there was a lot of preparation of Taysom Hill probably starting that week still. Drew Brees had practiced, but I don't know how much the expectations were that he was actually going to play in that game. Now that he did play last week, he looked a little rusty. I don't expect him to look like that 2 weeks in a row, so I think that Drew Brees would probably bounce back from that rather well this week. However, like most of this season, he does not have Michael Thomas, who the Saints announced is not going to be back until at least the playoffs.
I know that was a big announcement. But I do think the Saints at home, 6.5. I think they can win this one by 7. Higgins, I like where your head's at.
They're playing for a lot too. So, I
Yeah,
mean, they're playing for first round buys. They're still playing for the NFC South potentially. New Orleans Saints are currently sitting with that number 2 seed. They're a game behind Green Bay. However, they have the same exact record as Seattle. So New Orleans needs to win every game because Seattle's going to try to do the exact same, obviously. And they only edge them out right now because they hold the tiebreaker of best win percentage within conference games right now. New Orleans needs every single win they can. Minnesota's fighting for their life right now. They're on the outside looking in at the wild card spot, but I really don't think that the Vikings are going to get there this year. So, like you hinted at, I'm going to be on New Orleans minus 6.5, even though it's at minus 115 instead of minus 110.
no, I think that makes sense. I think they're the team that's going to be a little bit hungrier in this spot.
And then, Brett, before I talk about my Saturday pick, I'm going to talk about this special Oregon odds boost that I saw. I don't know who these two are that are giving out these odds boost, but hey, Suki, I like your 3-team parlay. You have Miami minus 2.5, Buffalo minus 6.5, and the Rams plus 2.5 at plus 650. This was plus 600 odds originally, boosted to plus 650, and I think it's great because honestly, I'm going to be on Miami minus 3 individually on Saturday. So Miami against the Raiders, who have absolutely collapsed. The Raiders have played terribly. They have not been able to cover recently. They're 1-4 covering the spread in their past 5 games. They're 1-4 winning outright in their past 5 games. Different games, by the way. The one that they covered and the one that they won.
Yeah, they did
Different
not
games.
cover against the Jets. I know.
The Raiders, they've just completely collapsed. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, they've been one of the best teams in the league this year against the spread so far. So I don't really see why I wouldn't pick the team that's 10-3 against the spread compared to the team that's 7-7 in real life and 7-7 against the spread. So Miami minus 3, and then I like that you're getting a little bit of a boost with the half point and the odds boost in that parlay. So Miami minus 2.5, Buffalo minus 6.5, and Rams plus 2.5 is what that 3-team parlay is again.
Yeah, no, I totally agree on this one too, Higgins. The Dolphins were very impressive last week against the Patriots. I was on New England. I thought, oh, I'll take Belichick against his former assistant, a lefty, a rookie. It didn't matter. The Dolphins just keep on winning. Now they go to Vegas on the day after Christmas, so it probably won't matter. They'll probably just take care of business and keep on rolling.
What do you think of these other two Saturday games? I mean, we have the Bucks against the Lions. Bucks are nearly 10-point favorites in this one. And then the Niners against the Cardinals, where the Cardinals are 5-point favorites. Bucks are sitting in the 6th spot right now in the NFC playoff standings. And the Rams have a spot, and the Cardinals are on the outside looking in. So lots of playoff movement that could happen from those two games on Saturday.
Yeah, I really didn't like any of these lines on Saturday, Higgins. They were all just, I don't know, they all felt a little off to me. And when they do that, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to bet that game because I would have had Tampa Bay closer to 2 touchdowns. So, like, looking at 9.5, I'm thinking, oh, they think it's going to be closer than I do. So, I'll stay away from that. And then the San Francisco Arizona one, I think it's going to be closer than they do. So I'm leaning San Francisco, and I'm like, I can't bet San Francisco when we don't even know if Josh Rosen might be starting at quarterback. Like, there's so much uncertainty there. So then I'm like, I want to bet Arizona, but then we see the comments about DeAndre Hopkins had a rant at practice and he had to defend his practice habits, and I'm like, I just want no part of that game.
Well, you just mentioned Josh Rosen might start for the 49ers. If he does, to me, that sounds like a perfect reason to bet San
A
Francisco. That's a
revenge game.
revenge game right there. You're playing against the quarterback that they traded you away for. Cliff Kingsbury came in and said, "No, we don't want you, Josh Rosen." And then you went to Miami and you've had to become a journeyman. If Josh Rosen gets that start, I might go 49ers money line, to be honest, because that sounds exactly like the any given Sunday personal reasons to play for, playoff implications, spoilers to play for, in division game. It just has all the makings for something very interesting. But I agree, both of those lines, something smells a little iffy for them, so I stayed away from those ones right now. But Sunday has some interesting games, and I had to refrain from picking too many right now. I'll probably give out some picks on our social media at NBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. I'll probably give out some day games on Sunday, depending on how I did with all my other bets up until Sunday. But there's some interesting games, and there's a lot of playoff movement, a lot of teams playing for nothing, a lot of teams playing for something. So that's where money gets made.
Yeah, definitely. And one team that absolutely needs to get right, Higgins, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I guess they come home, so that's a good thing, but they get to face the Indianapolis Colts, who are pretty pissed off that DeForest Buckner didn't make a Pro Bowl this year. Um, I like Pittsburgh in this one. I think they bounce back. I think this is the perfect spot to bounce back. Everyone's down on you. You lost a nationally televised game on the road to Cincinnati, where honestly, you probably had most of the fans in the stands anyway. So people are down on Pittsburgh. They're 0-3 in their last three, but they've won 11 games, Higgins. I think they can win a 12th. Like, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities. So, at home versus Indianapolis, plus 105 on the money line. That's good enough value for me. And something that's a pretty close line could get bet down to a pick 'em by game day.
Now, I'm kind of on the other side of this, Brett, because there's a lot that's going on with Pittsburgh after losing three straight. I mean, Juju's no longer allowed to dance on the logo at midfield, which is something he's done all season. It was not a problem for 11 straight games, but all of a sudden you lose three. Superstitions start coming. People change their habits in terms of game day rituals. All this different stuff changes, and you got to buckle down and get a little more serious, a little more refocused. I understand. I kind of agree with having Juju stop the dancing, stop the antics, at least for right now, until you get another win, just to refocus. But also, we haven't talked at all about the Colts really right here, who are tied with the Tennessee Titans right now in the AFC South. And there's a lot to play for right there between who's going to get the 4th seed and who's going to get the 5th or the 6th seed in the AFC wildcard right now. And Tennessee certainly right now holds the tiebreaker over Indianapolis. So can Indianapolis, a team that has earned wins based off of their defense and based off of being able to keep teams from gaining a lot of yards, they've had one of the best defenses in terms of yards allowed all season long. Big Ben has had a lot of issues in these past 3 games. More than the Juju Smith-Schuster not dancing on the logo, Big Ben needs to prove something in this game, because he said it the other day, if he doesn't play better, he should retire. Well, he has to show something, to be honest, and right now he hasn't. So I'm leaning towards Indianapolis, and depending on how I do with my bankroll management in these other games with the days leading up, I will probably find myself on the other side of you in this bet, Brett.
That's okay, Higgins. That's okay. I like the bounce back, so that's what I'm betting on here. I think Pittsburgh bounces back. They win their 12th game. That's all I need. I don't need the point and a half, Higgins. I just need a win on on the money line here.
And so I do have one pick for a Sunday game, and I'm actually going to be placing this before Sunday because I think some news that came out on Wednesday has affected this line today. Dwayne Haskins got his team captain status revoked. He got fined $40,000. I don't think he's starting this week, potentially. Um, Washington's only a 2.5 point favorite over the Carolina Panthers. Ron Rivera is the head coach of the Washington football team right now. He just beat cancer and he has the support of that entire locker room right now. I am sure Ron would love to beat the team that he used to coach against, and his teammates would love to deliver that to him as a belated Christmas present. So I think Washington has some more to play for here, especially since Carolina's already been eliminated from playoff contention, especially since Washington's not only playing for playoffs, but playing to win the NFC East. They have a lot to play for right now. I think it's just a tale of two different teams right now, and I think the football team, the Washington football team, is going to win by more than a field goal in this one. So I think that's a pretty fair pick to be making because they just have more to play for.
I'm actually super curious who's going to start for Washington if it's not Haskins. Because when you said that, I was like, who else do they have? Because aren't the other two guys hurt?
Alex Smith's listed as questionable, and Dwayne Haskins Jr. is their backup quarterback right now, with Taylor Helnicki as their third.
Okay. So that's interesting because he was with Rivera also in Carolina, just like Kyle Allen was. So that's interesting. Okay.
Alex Smith was limited at Wednesday's practice, so he at least did get to practice. If he's up to it, as long as his calf is okay,
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why you don't start him over Haskins, who has been dealt some punishments this week.
I'm with you. I don't think Haskins is starting the game. I had no idea Heineke was on the on the roster. I didn't know who else was available.
Yeah. Some other interesting games on Sunday that I think will probably find some of my money on it depending on the bankroll management. I mentioned the Indianapolis, Tennessee, AFC South showdown that's kind of going on in their race for the division title. Tennessee is a 3.5 point underdog against Green Bay. I find that very interesting for that Sunday night game. Aaron Rodgers has played very well, by the way. He is currently sitting behind Patrick Mahomes in terms of MVP odds. Not terrible value considering this is a guy that has thrown just 4 interceptions and over 40 touchdowns this year. Statistically, he has played out of his mind.
Yeah, especially it's a 2-horse race, so it's gonna come down to those two. You're gonna sprinkle a little bit, sprinkle it on the underdog for sure. Um, I'm excited to see Buffalo get back in action after clinching their first division title in 25 years. Obviously, the Patriots were the team that was the most dominant over that 25-year stretch. So it's only right that they get to travel to New England, where their own fan base put up a billboard that they won in some contest about how they're the best fan base in America and the Bills are the division champs. And I don't know, it just smells like a fun Monday Night Football game to me, Higgins.
I think so too. Any other team that had already convinced or clinched their division, I think would have had a much harder time playing against Belichick, but because of the reign that the Patriots had on that AFC East for so long, and because of the torment that the Bills and the Jets and the Dolphins had faced against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, there's an extra little we want to rub this in your face.
It feels
That
good.
you're
It feels
yes.
good. There's someone else on top now. Like it's finally not them.
And I'm sure Buffalo would love to show it to them on Monday as well. So that is a game that I very much look forward to watching as well. A game that was very fun to watch on Tuesday, Brett, was this Moneyline Magic. Texas Tech versus Oklahoma, which I ended up betting on Game Time. Texas Tech was a 2.5 point favorite, and the over-under was at 136.5. I took the Red Raiders, and I took the under. We'll see how that goes because both of these were in play coming down the stretch, Brett. And actually, I learned the reason why the spread didn't go though was because I texted you, We violated the pillars. We didn't check with each other.
No, we did not. That was not good. Not not good by us. We cost Texas Tech that spread there.
Yes, we did. But let's just talk about the final minute of this game because honestly, it lasted about 20 minutes long. There were three, maybe four timeouts that were called in this final minute. Texas Tech turned the ball over, and then Oklahoma immediately called a timeout with exactly 1 minute left. The score is 63 to 58. Texas Tech is leading. The Sooners come out and drain a 2-point game. Fantastic for them. They don't have to worry about fouling necessarily right now. They can just worry about playing defense. Well, Mac McClung comes right back down, and he drives to the hoop, and I don't know how his left arm split these defenders to get the ball up on this up and under reverse layup that he did, but he, out of nowhere, was able to get these 2 points. Timeout was called again, and he had some words talking towards the commentators who were 50 feet away and couldn't hear him, but he's just like, I did that. I did that. Mac
Good
McClung's
for
a true
him.
player.
Yeah, good for him. Also, I think he's Riff Raff's cousin. Fun fact.
That is a very fun
Fun
fact.
fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the Sooners came out of that timeout, miss a three, but they grab their own rebound and they make a jumper. 65 to 63, Texas Tech leads. Mind you, like I said, the line's 2.5. The over-under is 136.5, depending on what sports book you were at. And these come into play coming down the stretch. Coming out of a timeout, the Sooners fail to guard McClung. He gets the inbound pass and is immediately fouled, even though they didn't necessarily have to foul him. They could have trapped him in the backcourt. McClung goes down, makes both of his free throws. Another timeout's called.
Right.
Another timeout's called, so another commercial break. We're still waiting to find out the end of this game. 69 to 66. So, Brett, you're up 3. 6 seconds left. Do you foul?
I would foul, but I'd also need to make sure that I have guys who can rebound on my roster and guys who can make free throws. And I need to make sure those players are in the game on the second free throw. But yes, I would foul. And if I had a big I was very confident could make free throws, I would definitely foul.
Well, that's what they do. Mac McClung fouls a guard who goes, he makes the first shot, so he purposefully misses the second shot. In between the first and the second free throw, Oklahoma put in 3 big men. They grab the rebound and instantly get fouled. The guy that they fouled makes 50% of his free throws, though. He misses the first one. He misses the second one. But don't worry, the Sooners grab the rebound. They missed the layup. They grab the rebound again. Missed the layup. Austin Reeves grabs the rebound, his third straight rebound, and he misses the shot again. Texas Tech wins 69 to 67, a 2-point win, 136 total points scored. The bookmakers look like geniuses, and the Red Raiders escape with a victory in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, incredible finish, Higgins. You were watching this game live. You were texting me. I was like, oh, what's happening now? What's happening now? And you're like, honestly, this final minute's been going on for a half hour. And
It
this
took
game won't
forever.
end.
It took so long. I just wanted to go and cook dinner living out here on the West Coast. That was about what time it was. But I told myself, okay, I'm going to wait for this Texas Tech game to end. 20 minutes later, I'm still waiting, find out, okay, the under hits, Texas Tech doesn't cover, and we had our money line magic. I texted you immediately that had to be it because it was just that stressful. Even though Oklahoma never led in the game, it was just that stressful of an ending that it was a money line magic in a sense.
It really was. It really was. Very deserving.
Well, Friday is Christmas. If you are still scrambling for that last present, maybe you should buy a jersey or something like that. It's probably not going to get there by Christmas, but hey, you can just let them know it's on the way because today's episode is brought to you by Fanatics. Fanatics is the world's largest collection of official fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and players you love. If you enjoy our show and are looking to buy a new jersey, sweatshirt, or hat, you can support us by going to podgo.co/fanatics and getting 25% off your next order. That's podgo.co/fanatics. Fanatics officially licensed everything.
And Higgins, don't worry, man. Your Sidney Crosby and Jalen Hurts jerseys are on their way.
I appreciate that. Not at all. Not at all. Let's get into our college basketball, though. I'd rather look ahead than behind at that Texas Tech Oklahoma game and see what stress we might have. Now, we don't have any games going on Christmas Eve on Thursday. However, the Big Ten does have some interesting action for us on Friday.
Yeah, Big Ten Christmas Day special. 4 games, but you and I are really focused on number 9 Wisconsin at number 12 Michigan State.
Yes, now this is a interesting game, mainly to me because neither team has necessarily been fantastic against the spread. However, Wisconsin recently has been better against the spread because the Spartans all year long have just been bad against the spread. Wisconsin -1.5. I'm gonna be on them on the spread instead of on the money line because I'd rather just that little bit of extra return on that fig because it's -110 on the spread, -120 on the money line. But also, if you just look at the Wisconsin team's wins recently, I mean, they have 4 straight wins. Michigan State most recently lost to Northwestern, so they'll be playing off of a loss. Wisconsin's got some confidence, including against Nebraska, who they may not have necessarily covered against, but that line was 16 and Wisconsin won by 14, so it was still a commanding win. Just the bookies were a little too good.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Higgins. This is part of a future I have, I guess. I think Michigan State is going to compete for the Big Ten championship, and part of the reason I think that is because I think they're a little bit better than Wisconsin, even though Wisconsin is ranked number 9 right now. But Michigan State at home on Christmas Day, it feels like a spot where you can get that little bit of an upset over a team. Maybe they're a little upset they can't be home for the holidays, or they had to travel out to Michigan State. They couldn't go home, for Christmas Eve or whatever. So I'm gonna take Michigan State in this one, in large part because I have a future on them, but in small part because of all those other minor little details I just threw out there that may be a factor, may not be a factor, but I have the future, Higgins. I'm not gonna bet against myself this early in the season.
Hey, you could have considered it a hedge.
Not really.
Well, Brett, that's not the only Big Ten game that I'm going to be on because I also like this Iowa-Minnesota game. Now, everyone knows and has heard about the Iowa team that's expected to be good this year. They're number 4 in the country right now. They're 7-1 on the season. They're facing a Minnesota team that is also 7-1, though. Unranked, but they're also 7-1. But if you look at their quality of wins, Iowa has played some much better teams than Minnesota has. Minnesota has not been covering recently, and Iowa's 6-2 against the spread so far this season, and their only loss, both on the spread and in real life, was against Gonzaga. So Gonzaga's by far and away the number 1 team in the country to me so far, so I shouldn't be worried that Iowa's playing Minnesota, and at -5.5, I feel like that should be a little higher necessarily. So I'm going to take Iowa at -5.5 here.
Yeah, I liked Iowa too, but I stayed off it because I watched, or I may not have watched the whole Texas Tech game, but I knew enough of what happened, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do that again. So good job, Higgins. Way to beat me to the spread.
And Minnesota's only other game against a Big Ten team was against Illinois, which they lost by 27 points. And if you look at Iowa, they have also played another Big Ten team. They played against Purdue, and they won by 15 points. So obviously different opponents, but still the same conference that they're in. So just another little nugget for you.
Yeah, not a bad thing to look at. Maryland, Purdue also play, and number 19 Michigan travels to Nebraska. But let's get to the biggest basketball games on Christmas Day, Higgins. The NBA, we have a great slate all day. It starts off New Orleans at Miami. We get Zion Williamson on Christmas Day. What a treat, Higgins.
I mean, these games are going to be great, Brett, and honestly, if I hadn't already made my NFL picks, I probably would have been on another game or two down here in the NBA, but instead I only was able to pick one game. However, that New Orleans game against Miami should be fantastic. Miami had a very interesting game against Orlando on Wednesday night, which I thought Miami was going to run away with, but I stayed away from because I wasn't sure how they were going to respond with the short rest that they've had since playing in the NBA Finals. Seems like they might be a little tired, might be a little rusty. We'll see how Zion comes out after his first season, though. Golden State, Milwaukee. I expected a little better from Golden State against the Nets, to be honest, but the Bucks had to have a comeback win on, or almost had a comeback win on Wednesday against Boston if it wasn't for Giannis missing a free throw at the end that would have sent the game to overtime. So some very, very high profile NBA games here this weekend.
Yeah, I actually think Milwaukee bounces back, Higgins. So I'll take Milwaukee -9 at home versus Golden State on Christmas Day. The Warriors are not used to being the road team on Christmas Day. And they're probably used to being the better team on Christmas Day. So this will be a unique turn of events for them. Opening night was disappointing. Not so much because the Warriors lost, but how badly they lost. It was a little surprising. Oubre looked okay. He was energetic. Wiggins, eh. Steph looked good. Wiseman had some moments. He looked like a rookie, but I think Milwaukee, they're competing for a championship this year. So -9 versus Golden State on a big nationally televised stage like that, that should be an easy lock for Milwaukee.
Golden State definitely still has these new pieces that they're still trying to find. I think James Wiseman's going to be a great addition for them. He's still just very young, though. I mean, Kelly Oubre should be a good addition for them. He still has to figure out what that role is necessarily going to be and work with Steph to get used to being in the right spots that Steph expects him to be. However, I found more impressive than out of that game was how well the Brooklyn Nets played. I mean, Kevin Durant and Kyrie and the Nets came out and scored 40 points in that first quarter, and they looked in mid-season form.
Yeah, they look good for sure. I did lose a tough prop. Like Joe Harris checked out with like 5 minutes left in the third quarter, and I needed a point from him. so, so, so that's a fun loss I'll share with everyone. That one stung a little bit.
But this Brooklyn Nets Boston Celtics game should be a very great game. I mean, it is Kyrie's return to the TD Garden. We'll see if he breaks out the sage again. That should be interesting.
Yeah, he might have to. He
Or
might have to.
maybe he breaks out the mistletoe since it's Christmas Day.
Yeah, but you and I, we're fighting on this one, Higgins. I like the Celtics +3, dogs at home, something to prove. They want to prove that they're actually better without Kyrie, and no Kemba Walker in this one, which will hurt him a little bit. But I think Boston might have enough with Tatum, Brown, Smart, Jeff Teague, Tristan Thompson, Thies. It just keeps going on and on and on. How deep they are. I think they can get it done in this one. Brooklyn's feeling pretty good about themselves. Sometimes, Boston just played a competitive game. So this one's going to be closer than the Golden State game for sure, Higgins. I can promise that. So if it gets a little closer, I like Boston with the close game experience already. The group that's played together in close games. The coaching staff that's coached these guys in close games. I just like that connectivity that we were kind of riding for the opening games. I think it still holds true for the second and third game of the season. Maybe the fourth game is when it starts changing, but this early in the season, I like that trend.
And I think there is going to be a big confidence boost for Kevin Durant, who, I mean, you tear your Achilles, there has to be some caution in that first game back that you have, just to see what am I able to do right now coming back. I mean, obviously he had played basketball in practice and gone through rehab and all this different stuff, he was confident in his leg, but going through that full first NBA game, going through 25 minutes, I would expect to see him push it even further in this next game. He went 7 for 16. I wouldn't be surprised to see if he shoots maybe 20 shots or more. He leads the team in scoring this game instead of Kyrie. Kyrie scored 26 and led the Nets, whereas Durant had 22. I just think Durant's confidence is going to build with each game he plays coming off of this injury, and I think that makes him very dangerous because let's be honest, who covers him on Boston? Jason Tatum?
Yeah, probably Tatum. Tatum Brown.
I'll take Durant every
Well,
single
I
time in that
mean,
matchup.
no one can actually guard Kevin Durant. He's 7 feet tall.
Exactly.
He's a guard. And he's unbelievable shooter, top 3 in the league. So, I mean, you can't. You just hope to slow him down. But uh, maybe. I mean, you have to hope Kyrie gives him the ball. Kyrie might not give it up. He might be out for blood. So, it'll be an interesting one to watch for sure. Definitely one of the best games of the day. I say that, and then I look at the next 2 night games. I'm like, actually, Lakers Dallas. There's some bad blood there from the playoffs. Luka Doncic versus the Morrises was not so friendly in the postseason. Then Dallas had James Johnson, and the Morris twins kind of called them out on that. Said that's your Luka protector. Well, there you go. Game 2 of the year. The Luka protector is out, so we'll see what happens there. And the Clippers blew a 3-1 lead in the postseason to the Denver Nuggets, Higgins. So guess where they go on Christmas? To Denver, where the Nuggets are 1-point favorites. And I'm actually leaning the Clippers in this one. I'm not on it yet. I'm going to be working this game. I'll be working my day job during this game. So I know I'll be on it because I'll be working. So why not have a little fun? But I'm leaning Clippers right now. The 3-1 blown series lead, though, scares me a little bit. It just leaves some of that negative energy in your mind there.
Honestly, I am excited for every single one of these Christmas games in the NBA. I'm excited for the Christmas game in the NFL. I'm even excited for those Big Ten matchups that we talked about in college basketball. Not necessarily as excited about the Christmas Day bowl game that we have. However, I mean, Marshall versus Buffalo isn't an awful game, so I mean, that should still be decently interesting. It's just not up to the same caliber of these other games that I mentioned, but literally all 5 of these NBA Christmas games should be fantastic. If you have the ability to sit in front of the couch, in front of the TV on the couch, and watch all of those games, if your family will let you do that, or if you're quarantining away from your family, do the Zoom call with your family, open up the presents, do all that. But you can have the NBA up in the background. It's okay. Just put it on mute.
They won't know.
They won't
Exactly.
know.
Exactly. Well, my Levy lock is actually still in play, Higgins, so I don't know the result of it yet.
Not only is it still in play, it's in the first quarter, so it's not like we can even make an assumption of how it's gonna go. It's just too early. I mean, you're outflanking me with these moves, but to be honest, Brett, you still get the honors because my pick of the pod has become basically the fate of the pod right now, as I think I've lost 4 or 5 episodes straight on this pick right now.
Well, this is the one you turn it around. I feel it. But I'm going to Christmas Day basketball, Higgins. Milwaukee Bucks -9. I may have hinted that I called it a lock earlier. Well, it's a Levy lock. Nothing's ever a lock, but this one's a Levy lock. So I think Milwaukee takes care of business at home on Christmas Day. Then Giannis goes home, sees his family. He's a winner that day. He feels good, forgets all about the missed free throw on Wednesday night, and has a good Christmas.
Not just forgets about the free throw, tries to forget about Costas getting the ring and having to be a part of that ring ceremony in the video and everything. Poor Giannis never would have expected that he wouldn't have been the first Antetokounmpo brother to get a ring.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
However, my pick of the pod, which I just said maybe should be called the fate of the pod until I get another one right, I'm making it risky because I'm taking the Dolphins -3, which, if you remember at the top of the podcast with my NFL picks, I also have in that Oregon odds boost parlay. So, Dolphins -3. They're playing against the Raiders, who are 1-5 in their past 5 games. They're 1-5 against the spread in the past 5 games. The Dolphins are 9-1 in their past 10 games against the spread. They win against the spread. Just take the Dolphins. They're playing for more. They have the pride. Tua is not going to just phone it in, and I think the Dolphins win this game by more than 3. I think they win it by potentially a full touchdown. Not to mention, who knows what happens with Derek Carr after he had that groin injury.
Right, exactly. The groin injury, so we have to wait on the quarterback. I think you summed it up well. The Raiders have not played well.
That would be an interesting matchup, though, if we have Marcus Mariota versus Tua.
Oh
Has
yeah,
there
the
ever been
Hawaii
two
quarterback.
Hawaii quarterbacks face off against each other in the NFL?
Yeah, no, that is really interesting. I think they went to the same high school too, so that would be like extra crazy if they matched up.
That would be a very, very interesting storyline to it all.
Yes,
I would
St.
I would
Louis
love to
High
see that.
School, St. Louis, Hawaii, I guess.
I'm sure that's probably the best football school on the islands.
I would assume so. I mean, but it's tough to beat having Tua and Marcus Mariota come through those hallways.
Absolutely. But we'll see where else we are on these other games. Like I said, follow us on social media. We're going to have some picks of our other games. Bankroll management. Like I said, we can only give out so many picks during these episodes, but we will have picks before our next episodes. So at MBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page. Brett, we are not going to have our typical Monday episode, partly because of travel, partly because it's the holiday weekend. We're just going to take the break on Monday, but we will have another episode before 2021. We are going to have our New Year's Eve episode next Thursday, so even more reason to follow us on social media because we have extra days to give out some more picks before that.
Yeah, definitely. Follow along, get our picks, see how you can fade Jake and I or tail us, whatever you want to do. Definitely tail us. We're winners.
Well, this has been episode 103 of The Next Best Bet. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you guys again one more time before the end of 2020. Have a good one.